Today's event is all about fostering a healthy relationship with technology, and I am delighted to welcome Ryan McInnes from the Learning Rooms. Ryan has vast experience having worked within the e-learning industry for more than 18 years. Ryan, you're very welcome this afternoon. Firstly, how have you been getting on during the pandemic?
Thank you, Connor. Well, I suppose I've had maybe a pretty easy COVID, really. I suppose we've been pretty busy at the Learning Rooms. Lots of organisations are starting to embrace e-learning, which from our perspective is fantastic. So a lot of new clients and a lot of different learning challenges that we need to come up with nice and innovative approaches to fix. I suppose on a personal level, yeah, it was okay. We got into working from home, I suppose into that routine pretty easy, and maybe a lot of walking and a lot of cooking, and I suppose not much else to do really. I suppose compared to other people, I guess it was maybe pretty likely, I guess. Yeah.
Good. That's good to hear. I'm very guilty of spending too much time on my phone, on my iPad, on my laptop. I probably have an unhealthy relationship with my phone. Sometimes I'm afraid to look at the the screen time summary when it pops on my phone, and I tend to blame it on the kids, and it's not all my usage. So today, I suppose what I'm looking forward to hearing about, the pitfalls and how technology can place a positive role in our lives, and you're going to talk us through it this afternoon.
Yeah, so I suppose hopefully everybody will be able to take something away from today, and I think a lot of us fall into the trap of spending a lot of time on our devices, and certainly at the moment with COVID, it's very easy. You're not able to go out and do a lot of the social activities that we always would have done. So it's very easy to sit in front of a TV and have your phone on as well. So I think you're not the only one. I think we all fall into that trap. So hopefully today we'll look at I suppose some of the issues that can bring, as well as some of the things that you can start to do about it. About I suppose trying to foster a healthier relationship with your technology.
Okay, no, that's great. Look forward to hearing about it, Ryan.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so let's get started then. I suppose thanks for joining me, and thanks for ESPID for inviting me to talk. I'm Ryan McInnes, e-learning director at the Learning Rooms. So we are a learning company, and we're based in Sandyford, and we've been here for almost 20 years. My side of the business focuses pretty much purely on digital learning. So I suppose I have very much made a career out of embracing technology. So I'm pretty much a big advocate of technology, and there are definitely a lot of benefits that technology can bring to our lives. And we'll look at some of those benefits in a bit, but we also need to be aware of the effect that technology can have on our lives, and especially I suppose the key technology that we want to talk about today is our smartphone. So it's very much with us all day, every day. And in many cases, it's with us all evening and all night as well. So the modern smartphone, I guess, was born around about 13 years ago. And it really has transformed many aspects of our lives in ways which we probably could never have predicted, 13 years ago. And while a lot of that is good, it's not all good. So we want to look at, I suppose, some of the issues that our phones are causing us, and then I guess what we can do about it. So if we have a look at some statistics, the left column here is from the 2019 Deloitte Global Mobile Consumer Survey. So it's from the Irish cut, so they are Irish statistics, and I suppose it's 2019, so definitely, COVID is going to have had a big impact on this. So people are definitely using their phones and devices a lot more in 2020 than they would have been previously. In the short term, I think there's probably not a huge problem with that. But moving on, as COVID becomes, I suppose, a more long-term problem within the community, there are a lot of other problems that this increased use of our devices can cause. So I guess we do all need to work together and reduce our physical connections with COVID, and sometimes the only way that we can replace those connections is with our technology. To look at some of those statistics, so 19 out of 20 adults in Ireland in 2019 owned a smartphone. On average, people were checking their smartphones 50 times a day. And that's actually higher for females. So it's 54 times a day for females and 46 times a day for males. Again, 2019 stats. So, we're probably way in excess of that, especially during the lockdown times. 29% of people reported that using their phone or overuse of their phone did distract them while they were performing other tasks. And I suppose those other tasks can be work tasks, they could be pretty much anything. And 54% of people reported that they thought they used their phone too often, with 66% in 2019 actively trying to limit the amount of time that they spend on their phone. So that's, I suppose, some of those stats might be pretty dazzling. If we look at the right-hand side, then I suppose we're starting to consider what we're using our phones for. And I suppose the first thing to consider is that it's not necessarily to make and receive calls, which I suppose is generally what the general phone was always designed for. So we're really using it to communicate in a lot of different other ways. So, texting, email, our social media apps, using our camera to take photos, share photos, news, online shopping, again, has probably rocketed with COVID, with a lot of the shops being closed and people spending a lot of time at home. Other things like checking the weather, again, WhatsApp, so it's all about communication. And then things like watching videos on YouTube. So again, the consumption of media as well. So really, I suppose, looking at, what we're actually using them for. And I suppose if we want to look at why we use our phones so much, really, I guess people are very social, and we actively seek out relationships with other people. And this, I suppose, you can see in the activities that we use our phones for. So it's very much messaging friends, social media, sharing photos and videos of what we're getting up to in our lives. So we're always trying to connect with people, and our phone offers us a very easy way to do this. To connect with the people we do know, connect with people that we that we don't know, and really connect with the whole world. I suppose one consideration, have you ever posted something on social media, just to get likes or to get comments or to make you feel good or to connect with other people? Often some people would send out, a load of texts to friends to feel connected and to start up a conversation with people. And many people do this. But what we need to be aware of, I suppose, is why why we're doing this. And really what is driving us to use our phones so often. So a little bit of science. Think about it. You got your first smartphone. You probably did a few things that made you feel maybe made you feel good. So you might have found an old friend that you'd gone to school with and reconnected with them, or sent or received some nice messages and started getting notifications when notifications started to appear on our phones. All of these activities, I suppose, led to a release of dopamine in our brain. And dopamine is a hormone that is released during pleasurable situations. So we as humans are programmed to try and seek out, to repeat those, I suppose, those pleasurable activities to try and get another hit of dopamine. And whenever we receive a message or a notification on our phone, our body releases dopamine, which gives us a sense of satisfaction. And then that someone wants to interact or connect with us. And then over time, what's happening is our brains are starting to associate our phone with the dopamine and the dopamine hit. And this is starting to, is leading us to check our phones much more often. And I suppose because our brains are now hoping for a notification and therefore a dopamine hit. And I suppose the tech companies know this. So they know that we want to connect with people. We want to share our lives with our friends, family, and in many cases, total strangers. They know what drives us. So they know what we're using our devices and our social media more and more and what we're using them for. And they also know what is causing those hits of dopamine in our brain. And I suppose from their perspective, they're hiring, experts, psychologists, neuroscience scientists, all around the design of their products to make them more and more sticky or addictive, to keep the release of dopamine going and to keep us coming back again and again and again. I think there's an element at which you can't necessarily blame the tech companies. They have their KPIs to meet, and they have their shareholders to satisfy, and really with them getting you to continue to come back and back and back is helping them with their ad revenue. But this overuse of devices and this continuous search for the dopamine and trying to connect with other people, for a lot of people is causing problems in terms of both their physical and their mental health. An interesting thing that you might like to look at is the social dilemma on Netflix. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people have already seen it. I think it was number 1 or 2 a couple of weeks ago on Netflix, and it's effectively it's a documentary style. A couple of Silicon Valley whistleblowers who worked in some of the social media companies, talking about what the social media companies are doing to hook people in, and then moving on to the power that the social media companies have in society today. So yeah, definitely it's worth a watch. It might be a little bit one-sided, and it certainly doesn't paint a nice picture for some of the tech companies, but if you look at it from a balanced perspective, it's definitely worth looking at. So the rise of our smartphone use has, I suppose, led to a number of new terms, some bad words maybe. If we consider, we've a couple of terms here. So we've nomophobia, and nomophobia is very much, I suppose, the no mobile phone phobia. Okay, so it's the fear of being without your mobile phone. Phobbing is phone snubbing, so it's effectively snubbing or ignoring other people in favor of our phones or what's on our phones, or I suppose what we're doing with our phones. And an eye disorder is where you start to exhibit signs and symptoms of a psychiatric disorder that are manifested through the use or overuse of our technology. Okay, and in 2014, a Red Sea Research survey of 500 people who were aged 18 to 40 found that 57% of people suffered from nomophobia. That's pretty startling. And actually, what's even more startling is that was 2014. So you can just imagine, I guess, how much this has increased and how our phones have gotten more and more ingrained in our lives. If we look at phobbing, I suppose, we are constantly checking our phones. And what we're doing, I suppose, whenever we're with other people, is we're communicating to them that what's on our phone is more important than the conversation or the interaction with them. And it's becoming a very common complaint within relationships that partners feel ignored because the other person is just constantly on their phone, or they can't tear themselves away from their phone. Psychology Today, the website psychologytoday.com, reports that 65% of people either sleep with or sleep next to their smartphones. And more than half of people never ever switch off their phone. And they would argue that this starts to paint a picture of an addiction or an addiction to our phones. More problems, I suppose. If we start to look at some of the problems that too much screen time can bring. So it can cause weight gain. So 2 hours a day of TV can increase your risk of weight gain. Can increase your risk of diabetes and heart disease due to a more sedentary lifestyle and less sleep. And also people generally don't have as good eating habits when they're engrossed in something on TV or on their screen. Screen time, excessive screen time can certainly cause vision issues. So looking at a screen for a long period of time, you have things like eye strain, dry eyes, blurred vision and headaches, chronic back and neck pain from poor posture while we're slouched on the sofa or using our phone. Impaired cognitive function. So studies have found that too much time on our screens makes us less efficient at processing information. And then I suppose we've got the shock point. So you're likely to die earlier. So studies have indicated that spending significant amount of time on our screens, whether it's TV, phone, tablets, whatever it is, can lower your cardiovascular health and actually increase then your mortality risk. So we really are looking at, I suppose, quite an extensive list of pretty serious health issues. And then we move on to sleep. So think about a really nice day where I suppose you woke up and you felt great, full of energy. So a lot of this has to do with the sun. So the sun gives out a high intensity blue light, which helps keep us as humans alert. However, there's also the downside. So our devices also give out blue light. So the screens emit blue light, which during the day is totally fine, keeps us stimulated, keeps our brain active, and keeps us energized. The problem, I suppose, is that is using our device and the blue light at night. Okay, so more than any other color, the blue light blocks the production of melatonin in the brain. And melatonin is the hormone that regulates our sleep-wake cycles. Simply, melatonin helps makes us sleepy. Okay, this means that if you're using your phone late at night or while you're lying in bed, the blue light from the screen is keeping you alert. It can make you less drowsy, and it can make it less difficult or more difficult for you to actually fall asleep. I think this is our last page of problems, so don't worry, we're going to get to some good stuff in a minute. So there are a few other problems. Texting while driving, it brings a really obvious danger, but it definitely still happens. You see quite often people driving with their phone in their hand or driving while they're texting or on the phone. I suppose the thing is, most people would no longer drive without a seatbelt, or they wouldn't drive if they had been drinking. Yet a lot of people still do drive while texting. Music can bring two separate problems. So I suppose high volume, especially in our when it's so close to our ears with our headphones and earpods, can damage our ears. If you're in a social environment, so think about you've got a group of teenagers on the bus and they're all sitting together. They've all got their headphones on. They're all on their phones. They're not interacting with each other. It actually, from a social point of view, it stops interaction. A lot of music on our phones can stop interaction. Our phones also can stop us from, I suppose, living in the moment. So, we've all seen those concert photos from, 15 years ago where everyone was watching the stage and enjoying the gig and enjoying the music. And then you turn to today, if we had gigs allowed at the moment, but you turn to today where we, you know, everyone is very much, you know, recording it, or sending the messages to, you know, taking a photo or a video and sending it off to their friends, or sharing it on social media. So they're not really, I suppose, living in the moment. Again, you know, you see lots of people out for dinner, or groups of people out for dinner, and they're all sitting on their phone. You know, they're taking photos of the food and they're sharing it on social media. They're not necessarily engaging with the people that they're with. Move on to data and privacy. So again, it's a big area that people are probably only just becoming more and more aware of. I suppose considering what data is being collected on us and how it's being used. I think GDPR certainly helped a lot in terms of, you know, our awareness of what's happening with our data, and our ability to control what's being used, where it's being stored, and how it's being used. But I think it also introduced a lot of other issues in terms of, you know, like, when did you last read the privacy statement on a website, or, you know, accept the cookie policy? You just don't do it, and all it really has done is added 1 or 2 clicks before anyone can get anywhere near any of the content that they actually want to, you know, they want to access. So there are problems with that as well. But it's not all bad. So there are definitely good points as well. So, you know, the smartphone very much has revolutionized lots of people, or lots of aspects of our lives. It has brought us closer to friends and family, especially in COVID, you know, where we can't physically get together. You know, through video calling, messaging, you know, we've got a pretty much constant connection with people, no matter where they are throughout the world. And actually, it's pretty much cost-free at this stage. You know, the price of data is, making a video call, it's not going to add anything to your monthly bill. Our smartphone can help us make new connections. I suppose 2 things there. You know, there's a lot of dating apps, and people can find other people on those. But also looking at, I suppose, the connections of people that you can make with people who maybe share similar interests and groups and things like that. So again, it can help foster communities in that respect. It can help make the world more accessible for people with different disabilities. You know, people are able to use access apps and access services using voice control, where they may not physically be able to touch the phone and things like that. Or they could have some transcription service of what people are actually saying, and they'll be able to read it rather than listen to it, for people with hearing impairments. New features, things like our phones are able to recognize sounds in the environment. So things like the doorbell is ringing, so the phone would be able to pick that up and alert us in a way that we are able to, I suppose, receive that information. So it might be your smartwatch might vibrate, or your phone might light up, for people who maybe couldn't hear the doorbell ringing in the first place. We look at capturing special moments. You know, again, if we look at the camera technology on our phones is, I suppose, is fantastic at this stage, and is getting better every year again. You know, it's so easy for people to take photos, make videos, you know, record our lives and share our lives with our friends and family, and not even just them, but I suppose anybody who really wants to look, if that's the way you want to share your stuff. If we consider access to entertainment, you know, we don't need to name any of the streaming services that everybody's, you know, so engrossed in. You know, but on top of that, then there's a lot of free content, and, you know, even you know, you can get stuck down a YouTube rabbit hole quite easily, you know, just on your phone. It enables us to be creative, you know. So again, people are able to create a lot of content on their phones, and even if it's just from learning a new TikTok dance, or creating a blog, or, you know, video editing apps. There are apps available to cater for loads of different types of interests. new and exciting ways which people learn. Again, this is where I guess where we come in at the learning rooms and looking at how we can deliver engaging learning experiences that in many cases just wouldn't be possible without the use of technology. Okay. And I guess, finish off with our phones definitely can make us more productive. So they're, anything from, checking our Lewis or checking our email on the Lewis on the way out to Sandyford before we get to work. You probably could run, an entire small business using just mobile apps, from marketing, advertising, project management, finance. You could pretty much do everything on the go with your phone. So we know that our phones can cause us problems, health problems, mental health problems, problems with our relationships. But we do want to be able to embrace technology and I suppose get some of the benefits that it can bring. So what can we do to help us foster a healthier relationship with our phones? I suppose we can start by becoming more aware of our screen time and prioritizing people over the technology. So I think definitely that's one of the key things that I would take from this. Bring us back to our social side, so we really need to start considering who we're with at this particular moment and recognize that the conversation and the interaction with them right now is more important than what's happening on our phone. What those notifications and what's happening on our phone or on our social media will still be there in, an hour's time when we're not with that person anymore, but they may not be. So if you're out for dinner, let's hope the restaurants will open again up soon. Things like having a no phone policy, maybe whoever picks their phone up first has to pay the bill. Have screen-free times, so keeping things like keep the bedroom free from phones, keep meal times free from phones. If you're, playing with your children, again, keep it free from phones. And again, I think you need to really practice what you preach. So you can't necessarily have be shouting at your kids for being on their tablet while at the dinner table if you're sitting on your phone. So you need to practice it. In terms of notifications, I think there's certainly for most people it would be quite easy to vastly remove or reduce the number of notifications that they receive. And I think it brings it back to the main point of being in control of when you lift your phone. So again, if you watch that Netflix documentary, it puts it very well, but you're constantly getting notifications on your phone, and then you're lifting your phone to read the notification, and then you end up, doing something else and scrolling for hours on social media. By reducing the number of notifications, you're picking up your phone when you want to use the smartphone, rather than when, Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is sending you a notification. And on a lot of our social media apps, you can actually get quite granular in terms of the types of notifications that you receive. Certainly recently I went in and removed notifications from a lot of different groups and things that I'm on a member of, that I really just didn't need to see the notification. If it pops up in my feed, that's fine. One thing you could do is, whenever you are picking up your phone in the morning, have a look at the notifications and think about, do they add anything to your day? Do you need the notification? And if not, you can go in and you can swipe or remove all of the notifications for either apps or within the apps for the types of notifications that you get. Delete your social media apps might seem a little bit drastic, but certainly it can be something you could consider for periods of time. We realize that you'll realize that when you go back, the content is still there. You haven't actually really missed anything. And I think most people, unless they've got incredibly interesting friends, and most people's social media, what they see is pretty mundane, really. But at the very most, or at the very least, you should really be, I suppose, monitoring your social media usage. Looking at your alarm clock. So definitely I would stop using your phone as an alarm clock. So it's very easy whenever you are going to bed and you're setting your alarm clock to check your social media or check your email or message a friend. And again, this is exposing you to blue light and keeping your brain active. Okay, so very much keep your phone out of the bedroom. And monitor your screen time. So as Connor had said at the beginning, you know, a lot of phones will monitor it for you, or you can install an app if it's not built into the operating system. But read the reports. You know, if mine comes in on a Monday morning, it'll be able to very much itemize how much time I'm spending on social media, how much time I'm spending on email, you know, web browsing, etc. And it'll tell me even, you know, if I'm up 50% or up 10% or down 5% from the previous week. So it's about being, I suppose, being aware of what time you're spending on your phone. Trying to remove blue light, I suppose. So if we want to try and reduce the amount of blue light to help us sleep better, so we can definitely cut back on our screen time 2 to 3 hours before we go to bed. One thing, I suppose, it's important to remember that blue light doesn't just come from your phone. So it's also going to come from, you know, TV, laptop, etc. So you might consider cutting back on those a little bit as well. You can set an alarm an hour before you go to bed to remind yourself to, I suppose, totally stop using any devices. You can activate night shift mode, which will automatically adjust the color of your screen. So for instance, you'll be able to reduce the amount of blue light that comes from your screen. And again, most of the operating systems have will have this built in, and you can automate it. So I have mine coming on at 10 p.m. So after 10 p.m., if I lifted my phone, there's a lot less blue light on the screen. So it's not affecting my sleep. And the best thing to do, I suppose, is turn off your devices and actually take a break. It has a couple of a couple of benefits, I suppose. It removes the blue light, it removes the notifications, and it also removes your temptation if you wake up in the middle of the night to check your phone and see a notification, and you know, again, you're back into you know, browsing social media or whatever. Have a look at some other things that you might find useful in terms of your physical or psychological health. So there are lots of mindfulness and meditation apps available. So lots of things like Calm and Happify, the mindfulness app, and Headspace. There are lots of self-help programs available online. There are loads of other, I suppose, therapeutic treatments and online communities for providing guidance and support for a lot of people. Fitness trackers. So again, you know, generally they do things like they count your steps, or you can install a running app, and it really is to, I suppose, to help motivate you to keep you moving. So being able to set goals, and they can remind you to take breaks or remind you to stand up and, you know, move away from your desk if you've been sitting there for a long period of time. Really, the aim of them really is to stop you being, I guess, so sedentary. Especially during times like lockdown, when, you know, we're not out doing those usual activities. And one useful thing is the 20-20-20 rule. So every 20 minutes, you should look at something 20 meters away for 20 seconds. And I guess I think we're probably 20 minutes in at this stage. We probably should all be taking this advice and looking away for 20 seconds at this stage. And finally, there's I suppose a couple of other little things. So getting reacquainted with the art of being present. So I guess what we're looking at here is those gaps between the activities that used to, I suppose, have nothing in them, and they're now very much filled with information. So, you know, we're at the bus stop, we're using our phone. We're queuing in a shop, we go on our phone. or we're waiting on a friend or something, and we're on our phones. So we probably need to, I suppose, get back into the way of being present and going tech free while we're waiting on something, or even if it's just going to the toilet. We could batch our emails and a lot of the, I suppose, the communication. So rather than being distracted with emails and calls throughout the day, try and deal with them early, put your phone away, and then you can enjoy your day. Lead by example. So again, if you want your kids to be less tech addicted, or you want your friends to, be more attentive or pay more attention while you're out for dinner, you need to do it first. So you need to lead by example. And I guess I leave you by saying that it's okay to be offline for a while. Airplane mode is your friend, or even better, just turn your phone off for a while. But prioritize the people that you're with over the technology. So I think we all need to be aware of our phone usage. We then need to, I suppose, know the detrimental effects of excessive usage. And then we need to put in place, I guess, some checks and balances that ensure we're not overusing our technology and harming ourselves. You need to choose when you use your phone and your social media. And I suppose the key thing is that you're in control. So that's all from me. I hope you find the talk useful. And just a reminder that the Learning Rooms are offering a number of free e-learning courses each day with Wellness Week. So today's course is Managing Stress in the Workplace, and tomorrow's is Mindfulness in the Workplace. If you want, you can visit thelearningrooms.com and you'll find the details on how to access those courses in our latest blog. Thank you, and back to you, Connor.
Ryan McInnes, the Learning Rooms, thank you very much. Some very interesting and some very worrying statistics. I don't like the statement, we're likely to die earlier.
Yeah.
Having a healthy relationship with technology, but it's clear that the phone is no longer a phone. We use it to text, to email, it's a camera. We use it for social media. And it's also, it's a great form of communication, and I think it's come into, to the forefront, I suppose, during the pandemic, communicating with parents and grandparents and things like that, keeping those relationships open and communication flowing, which has been great. Like you mentioned, the phone beside your bed. Yes, I sleep with the phone beside my bed. I use it as an alarm clock. Why would I buy an alarm clock if I already have an alarm clock? Like, I don't have a watch because everywhere I look, I can see time. My phone, my laptop, my iPad, the car, the oven, the microwave, it's everywhere. So I choose not to wear a watch, and I've chosen not to buy an alarm clock. But I assume if I can be disciplined with my phone and follow, some of the pieces of advice that you've given, that I can still use my phone as an alarm clock, just as long as it doesn't interrupt, my sleep patterns or my wind down.
And a lot of that can actually be automated. Like, again, you can set it that your phone will, reduce the amount of blue light coming from the screen at a certain amount of time. You can set it that your notifications are not going to come in after a certain amount of time. So, if someone does send you a message or whatever, your phone doesn't light up in the middle of the night. So it's about you controlling, really, when those notifications come in and not disturbing your night's sleep. So a lot of that can actually be automated if you do want to use your phone as your alarm clock.
Okay. You mentioned, and I mentioned at the start, just a summary around screen time, but is there a maximum acceptable time, that people should stay on screen? So look, we take it that, working 9 to 5, people on their laptops who use the 2020 rule or guidance to look away. But, I suppose socially, outside the 9 to 5, what is the maximum level of
So I don't know what the maximum is really. I guess it's more around, you know, maybe on a weekly basis rather than on a daily basis, you know. So, you know, if you take a day and you're lounging on the sofa watching Netflix and on your phone, maybe the next day you need to make sure you get out and go for a walk, or, you know, or do something different. So it's probably more, you know, again, depending on what you're doing for a careers, or, you know, what way you're working as well. Like I spend a lot of time on front of a computer, you know, certainly a lot of time on Zoom at the moment. So when I suppose go to lie, you know, go to relax, I'm trying to stay away from another device, you know.
Okay. Do you know if there's any software or like an app or built-in software, you know, on iPads or smartphones or tablets, where, you know, it can give a warning, you know, that you've exceeded an X amount of screen time per day? Is that something that's there?
Oh, I actually don't know. There probably is. There certainly would be in some of the settings for, I suppose, that parents can use to limit their children's screen time. So, you know, you would be able to say that a child can only access, for, you know, YouTube for one hour a week and between these certain times. So you could probably set the same up for yourself.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Look, Ryan McInnes, thank you very much for your time. Ryan is from the wellness rooms, and as Ryan has previously mentioned, the wellness rooms are, the learning rooms. Ryan has previously mentioned that there is free access to managing stress in the workplace today and mindfulness in the workplace tomorrow. So that's from the learning rooms. Also, Lift, leading Ireland's future tech together, are offering complimentary access to their resilience themed online roundtable sessions for the duration of Wellness Week. Tomorrow we have Feel Good Friday, and that's desk yoga from Lisa Burke, the Wellness Group. And then coming up in October, we have our hugely and highly anticipated Innovation Week. 4 days, 30 speakers, and 8 panel discussions. So full details of that are available on our website, sandyford.ie. So you can go back over this webinar and listen to Ryan McInnes from the Learning Rooms on our website, sandyford.ie, and any other Wellness Week webinar that's taken place this week, and any other webinars that we've done over the last few months. So I would like to thank again Ryan McInnes from the Learning Rooms. It's been very interesting, and I will adopt some of the pieces of advice that you've discussed and put up on screen. I think it's you know, it's very important. We need a balance. You know, I've seen myself you know, spending more time on my smartphone during the pandemic, and I just need to, I suppose, keep that check, and we all need to be aware and conscious of it. So Ryan McInnes, the Learning Rooms, thank you very much for your time, and everybody else that has joined in this afternoon, thank you, stay safe, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks very much, Connor. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.